Forget slow population trends. Right now, America is experiencing a silent financial evacuation. In just 4 years, more than 3.5 million people have left a small group of U.S. states, not because they wanted a lifestyle change, but because the math stopped working. This isn't about politics. It's not about weather or culture. It's about a breaking point where housing costs, taxes, insurance, and everyday expenses quietly overpower income. And if you live in one of these states or plan to buy property there, what happens next could directly affect your home value, your rent, and your financial future. This is our changing world. We track the data that reshapes where people can realistically afford to live. Today, we're counting down the states Americans are leaving the fastest and the single financial pressure pushing people out of each one. Let's begin. Number 10. Ohio. Ohio is not collapsing. That's what makes its story easy to miss. It still feels dependable. Familiar cities, reasonably priced homes, stable communities. But beneath the surface, younger workers are quietly leaving because stability no longer leads to upward mobility. The data shows a quiet brain drain. Ohio's public universities graduate over 80,000 students each year, but a significant portion, especially in STEM fields, take their first job out of state. They're not just seeking a slightly higher salary, they're seeking career trajectories that Ohio's evolving economy simply isn't creating in enough volume. Cities like Cleveland, Toledo, and Youngstown never fully recovered from decades of industrial decline. Even as Columbus grows, it hasn't been enough to offset the steady outflow of younger professionals. For them, the calculation is cold and clear. A software engineer might earn $85,000 in Columbus, but $130,000 in Austin or Raleigh. Over a decade, that gap represents a lifetime of savings, a larger home, or financial security. When similar jobs in faster-growing states offer higher pay and clearer career paths, the decision stops being emotional. It becomes arithmetic. Ohio isn't being abandoned, it's being outcompeted. Number 9, Minnesota. Minnesota ranks high in quality of life surveys, but rankings don't pay heating bills. Beyond rising housing costs and taxes, residents face what many quietly call a winter tax. Months of extreme cold drive up utilities, vehicle maintenance, and daily stress. This tax isn't theoretical. The state's own estimates suggest households spend an extra $2,000 to $3,500 annually just to cope with winter compared to Sunbelt states. That's a car payment. That's a family vacation every single year. For remote workers, the equation became simple. Keep the salary, remove the winter, save thousands every year. The pandemic was the catalyst. When professionals in the Twin Cities realized their job was no longer tied to a downtown office, the very premise of enduring 5 months of harsh weather was called into question. The cost wasn't just financial, it was mental and physical. And for many families, it crossed a line. Number 8, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's losses aren't sudden, they're generational. Young adults leave after college and don't return. Retirees move south. Over time, that slow drain adds up. Pennsylvania retains only about 60% of its public university graduates 5 years after commencement. This isn't a new problem, but it's a compounding one. In many towns, people inherit family homes only to realize they can't afford the property taxes and school levies tied to stagnant local wages. Infrastructure ages. Job growth lags behind faster-moving regions. In places like Erie or Scranton, the median household income has barely budged in 15 years when adjusted for inflation, while property taxes have soared. You can own your home free and clear, but still be taxed out of living in it. For many households, leaving isn't about ambition. It's about relief. Number 7, Hawaii. Hawaii isn't losing people because it lacks beauty. It's losing people because even middle-class life has become unreachable. Housing prices regularly exceed $1 million. Utilities and groceries rank among the most expensive in the country. Insurance costs continue to rise. The numbers are staggering. To afford a median-priced home in Honolulu, a household needs an income of nearly $250,000. The actual median household income is less than $90,000. This isn't a gap. It's a chasm that ordinary careers cannot bridge. While Hawaii's raw numbers are smaller, Its losses represent one of the highest per capita outflows in the United States. The impact is felt across nearly every local community. Young professionals face a painful choice: stay close to family and never build wealth, or leave the islands to create a future they may never afford to return to. Number 6. Michigan. Michigan has signs of renewal, but uncertainty still dominates. Outside a few growing metros, job opportunities remain uneven. Manufacturing downturns left deep scars, especially in smaller cities and rural counties. The state's economy is still deeply tied to the auto industry's cycles. When that sector stutters, Michigan feels it immediately. This volatility makes long-term planning, like buying a home, feel risky. Long winters, rising costs, and fragile job markets push families toward places that offer predictability. It's not just about the cold, it's about the uncertainty tax, the mental and financial cost of not knowing if the local plant will have layoffs. They aren't chasing sunshine, they're chasing consistency. Number 5, Maryland. Maryland looks strong on paper. High median incomes, proximity to Washington, D.C., strong employers. But housing costs, property taxes, childcare, and congestion are squeezing families from every direction. Commutes quietly drain hours of life every week. The math is brutal. A family earning $150,000 in Montgomery County might take home around $90,000 after taxes. A modest $3,000 per month apartment consumes 40% of that. Add childcare, and there's little left for saving. Remote work exposed the imbalance. Once people realized they could keep their income while cutting expenses dramatically, the outflow accelerated. They didn't just move to cheaper suburbs, they moved to entirely different states. This wasn't collapse, it was recalculation. Number 4, Louisiana. Louisiana's losses stand out not just for size, but for cause. Economic stagnation, safety concerns, and rising climate risk all converge here. Insurance premiums have surged. Hurricanes arrive more frequently and cause more damage. The climate risk has moved from a potential disaster to a current annual financial crisis. In some parishes, property insurance has doubled in the last 5 years. For many families, resilience has become a permanent budget line item and eventually an unaffordable one. This is the new calculus. It's not just, can I afford my mortgage? It's, can I afford to rebuild? Number 3, Illinois. Illinois' population decline didn't start recently, but it accelerated sharply. Since 2020, more than 400,000 residents have left Illinois. That's more people than the population of St. Louis. High property taxes, pension obligations, and long-term fiscal uncertainty push families to neighboring states where the same income stretches further. This is a wealth transfer on a massive scale. Studies show Illinois has lost over $10 billion in annual income to other states since 2020. This isn't panic, it's planning. Number 2, New York. New York remains one of the most influential places in the world, but its population numbers tell a different story. Nearly 1 million people left New York in just 4 years. That's more than the entire population of San Jose, gone. And this isn't limited to lower-income households. A growing share of those leaving are middle-class and higher-income earners, the very people who once stabilized housing demand. The middle-class squeeze is absolute. To comfortably afford a median-priced home in the New York City metro now requires a household income exceeding $200,000. People aren't leaving because New York stopped being vibrant. They're leaving because staying stopped being mathematically possible. And number 1, California. California sits at the center of this shift. More than 1.2 million residents left the state in just 4 years, the largest domestic population loss in modern U.S. history. That's roughly the population of San Diego quietly disappearing. Not because opportunity vanished, but because the cost of staying overwhelmed income. The California dream has acquired a massive premium. The median home price is over $800,000 statewide. To qualify for that mortgage, you need an income approaching $250,000. The state's median household income is about $85,000. Housing prices, taxes, insurance, utilities, all rising faster than wages. Remote work removed the final barrier. Californians didn't abandon the dream. They found it cheaper elsewhere. Taken together, these states reveal something much bigger than migration. Americans are no longer moving for curiosity. They're moving for stability and survival. Housing costs, insurance, taxes, and job flexibility now decide where life is possible. As people leave, housing demand softens in these states and intensifies elsewhere. This is creating a national domino effect. The affordability crisis in California and New York is now driving a housing boom in states like Idaho and Texas. The exodus here is already reshaping real estate, and the ripple effects are just beginning. Which state on this list surprised you the most? And would you ever move for a better quality of life? If this breakdown helped you see the housing market more clearly, like the video, share it, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into America's shifting real estate landscape. Thanks for watching. This is our changing world, and this story is far from over.